Welcome to another episode of the Global Resilient Citizen Series. Today we have a very special guest joining us for this interview. She's coming all the way from Austria to give us this interview online. So let me quickly introduce her. This is Marion Hopfgartner. Marion Hopfgartner is an educationist. She's an international speaker, the founder of the Lelek Academy, which is a government certified organization for early years teacher training in Austria. She is also the founder of TLI Pedagogics, which is an innovative and modern early years curriculum. She is the board of member for many preschools in Austria and also an author of 9 books which have been published in the German and the English language. Welcome to this interview, Marion. It's an honor to have you with us today. I've been always aspirational of writing a book myself, and you being, someone who's authored multiple books in an area of specialization and with the wealth of experience you bring in, indeed, it's a huge inspiration to have you here with us. All right. So Marion, today's interview has the theme of resilience and courage. So without much ado, I'm going to invite you to share your thoughts and ideas on today's theme. My first question, as an individual, what according to you is resilience and courage?
Thank you very much for the invitation. So it was very easy to get all the way to India via virtual technique. In the past, it was quite more difficult, I have to say. So in that regard, it is an honor for me to be here and speak about it, especially because the topic on resilience and courage, those are for me and also in TLI Pedagogics, very important topics. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, I see a difference between resilience and courage. Mm-hmm. The resilience lays especially in the power of a human being to become stronger by overcoming obstacles. So it means that you grow with every and each obstacle and challenge in life. And this starts with the very little ones when they start walking and we allow them to fall. Mm-hmm. They are overcoming and they are learning a lot. Especially, for example, they learn risk management. How high are my knees away from the floor? And is this painful or not? The first lessons of risk management are actually given when the baby starts to crawl, to walk, all of these easy steps. And the resilience is also started to be built at that time already. The second part is courage. Courage is something very different. Courage is something that makes a human being do things which are a little bit scary. So we have this feeling in us where we feel, shall I do it? Shall I not do it? Or we even don't know how to do it. Yeah. So it's kind of, we don't have the full picture yet of how to work that out and how we will overcome it. But then we take this deep breath and like a jump down into a swimming pool.
Take the leap of faith.
With the leap of faith. And that is what courage is for me. You have the feeling of being a little bit scared, but then at the end, you do it. And that is what courage for me includes, this doing it, even though you're not exactly sure if you can manage every detail of it.
Yes, this happens often when you are in the unknown zone or the unknown territory, or you're doing something which is not familiar to you. So how does one engender courage and resilience in children? Is it possible to engender it, or is it natural with individuals that certain people are born very resilient, or is it the family environment? What do you think?
According to psychology, we know that the part of our personality is already inborn. So we take it with us. There are, starting from a spiritual background to a psychological background, there are so many ideas where it comes from, biological, genes, all of that. So we can have discussions, why is there something inborn and how much? psychology nowadays says that about 50% of our personality is already inborn, but it may not awake. Yeah, so it's there. But what awakens in life, that is depending on the situations we are running through. So I think a part, how much, whatever is there, that makes already a difference in a human being. So when a baby is born, we can see that they are different. There is no baby the same, like, especially in siblings, you can always see that they are very different from day one. Yeah, so this is what it means. There is something already given to a human being. But the bigger part can be influenced from our side. This is what we at least strongly believe in TLI pedagogics. That there is the human being which is born, and then there's the grown-up being. And what lays between the two, besides their personality, is the education which they get. And this is where our influencing part comes in as parents, as well as educators, of course. And so this is also why it's so important to know a lot and to be aware about different things and what they can do, or what kind of results can come out of an action that I'm doing today.
So I get the impression that based on what you share is that some aspects to our persona are things that are inherited from the family genetically. Some aspects of it are based on our education, our environment, the exposure that the parents provide us with, the exposure that the educators or our school environment provides us with. And we're going to soon come to that in terms of what is it that we can do as parents as well as educators in order to develop some of these aspects in our child's persona, or for that matter, even the youth and grown-ups. All right. Before I get into that, I'd also like to understand from you the flip side of courage and the flip side of resilience, for that matter, is people having experiences of the other end of the spectrum, which is like fear, anxiety, worry, apprehensions. What do you think causes people to respond to situations or circumstances in life with fears and apprehension?
Yeah, so in that regard, we can go back about 50 years when Mr. Maslow developed the hierarchies of needs. So very clearly, it shows that each and every human being in this world has a desire to have a fulfillment of the basic needs. And the basic needs are food, shelter, security. So all of this is something that is provided by the surrounding to the baby. And in life, whenever we feel that our basic needs are not fulfilled, then there is something in our body biologically called the instinct. And the instinct says you need to do something. You have to keep yourself alive. You have to get food. You have to get something to drink. You need to rest your body. You need to find shelter. And this instinct on the biological level is also compared with fear, because fear makes us also move. So there's a biological reason for that, which is a background from that side, that we have a natural fear, a healthy fear in us that drives us to survive. So for the survival. But then, of course, there's the second part, and that is when it becomes overwhelming, or when it really becomes unrealistic. About 80% of the fears people have, according to psychology, will never come true. Yeah, so when we today have worries and sorrows, and we think, oh my God, if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, yeah, if you would write all of them down, what you have today, 80% wouldn't happen.
It's imagined fear.
Yeah. Problem with the mind is that the mind is in general remembering better the things which happened than the ones which didn't happen. So we tend to remember the pain aspect in life. A human being always wants to avoid pain from day one. So when a baby falls and it hurts, it doesn't want to have this again. So we always try to avoid pain. And so by avoiding pain, we are limiting our space in which we move or our experiences, because the more pain we experience, the less we want to experience it. So we do not try to figure out things or experience or discover things anymore. And that is the part where I think educational system and parenting comes in a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how can educators and parents address this aspect? Especially, one wonders that is it possible that one can transfer their own fears, their own apprehensions and worries to people around, especially children and youngsters? In today's time where humanity is faced with so many things, is it is it is it learned that when we are around people who are apprehensive and fearful, we kind of absorb those practices, or is it something that because of our own personal experiences we're likely to develop those?
It comes together from many different aspects. One very important part is the belief systems. The belief systems that we have in our families give us an idea. And there are some kind of fairy tales that we get told as little children. For example, if you do this, for example, in my culture, it was like this: if you don't finish your food, the sun will not come out tomorrow. So some kind of these things, yeah. So where you want to have something, so you do something because you don't want the other thing to happen. So a lot of belief systems cause us to do something and only be in a certain amount of space that we use. So belief systems, we have to ask ourselves as parents, but also as educationalists or educators, we have to ask ourselves, what are our belief systems that we are transferring to the children? Oh, don't do this, this is dangerous. There are some kind of ideas that we have. We would never give the child the knife, but maybe if you observe the child and we explain and we see this is a child who is very careful and can do that easily, and maybe we don't start with the very sharp one, we start with the butter knife, and the child gets used to it. Maybe it's no problem. Maybe this child could handle a knife. Maybe another child can't handle it. So a lot is happening also through relationship and understanding the maturity of the child which is in front of me as a mom, but also as an educator. The better I can understand what the child is able to handle and what not, the more I can give responsibility to the child themselves. And with all of this responsibility, they start daring more, and daring is needed to build up courage. On the other hand, we can also see that in parenting and in education, it's very important, on one hand, to understand the qualities of the child and their development and what they're able, but on the other hand, also to encourage them to try something what they never have done, and where even we might not know at the end if it turns out that they are able to complete it or not. But in that regard, because this is the part of resilience, this is the part where the child tries something, might not be able to complete it, but with the proper guidance, they can see, okay, I couldn't do it in this way, but maybe I tried in a different way. So the way of guidance that allows the child to try things and also learn, these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, these are things which I can do, these are things which I cannot do. The things that I cannot do, what do I need to learn so that I'm able to do them at a later time? And not say, oh, I cannot do this, I can't do this, I don't want to do it at any time anymore. The way of what questions we ask children in this process will a lot design the amount of resilience and courage from what the child will take into the adult life.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Marion. I've often noticed that, people have a lot of, they have a frozen notion of capability, caliber, potential, capacity to be able to do things. All right. And when you come to those notions, you don't explore and experiment and try out new things. Or even if you fail at something, you're not thinking of alternative ways of working them out. So I think you've brought out a very important aspect, which is connected to our notion and our belief system that, it's always possible to try another way and find a way to do things rather than thinking that, oh, I failed at this. Yes, I can't do it. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. What I'm appreciating a lot about what you're sharing, and I think that's something unique to you as an individual, that you ask a lot of questions which allow somebody to think through the way they live their life. Like earlier, I noticed you said, why don't we write down all our fears and apprehensions? Because that's something that most of our fears or whatever apprehensions we have, they don't turn out to be true. It's just imagined. And I think I'm going to go back and do that. I'm going to do this exercise just to see how many of my fears and apprehensions and worries are imagined ones and how many are really authentic. The next question that you asked right now, which was also about our belief system. What beliefs do we have? What mindsets do we have about life or about experiences or about learning for that matter, which is important for us to be aware of because we're unconsciously sometimes transferring those to our children as well. Writing down our fears, writing down our worries for us to be cognizant that, let me make sure that I'm not exposing my children to those fears. Like, so very often I've seen that children learn, develop the phobias that parents have. Or, some people have the fear of heights, or somebody has the fear of, animals, and children love animals. But when they see their parents getting scared, it's like something to fear.
This is also because the child lives in the environment, and the environment shapes the emotional and the mental being of a human being. So if I'm in an environment where everyone uses knives and I'm allowed to use knives under certain rules, then that is the environment that is normal for me. So what is normal and what is not normal, that is very different. So if we meet children at the age of 10 years, they have a very different idea of what is dangerous and what is not dangerous. And so, yes, I also want to come back to the one you said before. It is the parenting, it is the education, but it's also the experiences. A child may make an experience jumping down somewhere, breaking the bone. And so then they don't want to jump anymore. And that just needs to be guided, because maybe the child had not the right shoes, maybe the ground was not flat, maybe it didn't look properly, if where it steps, that is this really also solid that I can jump at that point? Maybe just some surrounding aspects need to be observed better before jumping next time. And so when, as parents or as educators, we try to create this super secure environment for children, we take the ability to train our courage and our resilience, or the ones of the children actually, away from them. And then at the later time, they have to make this experience in a very hard way. I believe strongly that today in this coronavirus, there are people out there who don't know how to deal with that. And the group of people who is the most, at least here in Europe also, we can see who can deal the most difficult or has the most difficulty to deal with it is the age group 15 to 25. Because they have just no idea of what to do in this new environment, because there's no one here who can tell them, now you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now it needs courage to try something, and now it needs resilience to work through this challenging time. And they don't have it. It was not in the educational curriculums, and parents try to prepare a super safe environment for the children, an awesome environment that nothing happens to them, what they might have experienced as children. But the result now is a little bit challenging for those young people in the new world that is coming.
Yes. I remember even me growing up as a child, or for me, I see in my environment or when I interact with other parents, I think, being able to say that it's all right to be wrong. It's all right to fail. It's all right to fall, because that's not the end of it. That's not, the final fatal reality of it. One can rise above it. One can find other ways. One can find other solutions. This is something that, is so important so that our children get prepared for circumstances or situations like these, which are so unprecedented, so unpredictable. That brings me to another very interesting thing that I wish to speak with you about. There's a particular quote by Winston Churchill, which I wanted your thoughts on, and I'm going to share that with you right now, which very much connects to what you spoke about right now. Winston Churchill had once said, "Success is not final, and failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." What do you think about this?
I think success is not important at all.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to building up courage and resilience, it's not about success or not success. In the moment when we bring it in this, I find the quote amazing and I can sign it. But when we speak about courage and resilience, we have to leave this success and not success topic in children a little bit aside, because the question how we define success already. Success is is at the end nothing else than the end result of our doing. Yeah, so it's the side effect, we could even say. It's not the end result, it's the side effect. And whatever I do, it will produce a result. And result will be success. It will be success that I like, or it will be a result, success that I don't like. And whatever I do, that will move me. And this is where I come really in sync with Churchill, because in that regard, I can say that you need to focus on the doing process. And we need to get children to enjoy the doing process. And it is one of the most greatest days when a 2.5-year-old child tries to close the box of a puzzle and it doesn't fit. In 20 minutes, the child has the diligence to try and always try, how do I need to arrange this so that the top of the box closes. And the child is doing this for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe leaving it, maybe go back. And that one time it just falls into place, and it is. And that is normally not conscious. It happens by accident. It's not that it happened because the child now understood. Normally, when it comes to success, when the first time we have success in something, it's accidentally. It happens. It's just the child moves. It's not that it just puts it in a certain way and says, okay, this is now how it moves, and boom, it goes in, isn't it?
Sure.
And that is what is important to see. People who are super successful, they are not successful because of one thing. They are not successful because they understood how to do this one thing. They are successful because they overcome obstacles, they go on doing, they love what they do, and they constantly have courage to try something new, because this way it doesn't work. So I need courage to try differently. I have no idea if it will work, but I take the courage to try it. And by all of these steps, one day it makes click and it's done. And the big thing comes in. So focusing on success when it comes to resilience and courage wouldn't be the right thing for me from the viewpoint of TLI pedagogics. It's not a wrong one, but from the viewpoint of TLI pedagogics, we would focus on the joy of doing, on the joy of overcoming an obstacle, on the joy of finding a new way. It must be for the child amazingly successful just to think about a new way how to do it. So let's say there are 2-3 children, they try to build let's say a Latin. We just had the Latin Fest here in Europe. I don't know if you know that, but the children, they draw their Latins, they craft them, and then they put the candle in and they walk with them. So if you tell 4-year-old children, why don't you want to do this here alone? You know already how to do it. Let's do it alone. And then they try and they try and they try, and they don't know how. And it works out that it's not working out. But then they have a new idea. Maybe we should try it like this. This is already success. It's not the success to have the end product. Because many people people are even not able, if it doesn't work, they say, oh, it doesn't work. Help me. I can't do that. But just by them to think about a new way, think outside of the box, that builds resilience and courage.
Yes.
The end result, the success of having the Latin, that is you can tap your shoulder and say, I did it. Yeah, you can be happy about it.
Yes, yes.
But the process is important because you need to remember the process for something else in your life to duplicate it or to try something new. Or you use all of the information which you take out of this one process to maybe build something different in your life and grow to the next level. It's not the Latin that you need to hang on.
Beautiful. In fact, that's going to bring me to another aspect of this entire interaction, and that's, about looking at the possibility of being creative and ideating and thinking of different ways of doing things when you're faced with challenges. So I'm going to come to that aspect a little later. I want to ask you about one more quote, and I want to know your take on that, and that is, "Courage is grace under pressure," given by Ernest Hemingway. What do you think about this?
That's a little bit more tricky because I think there are many different human beings. Yeah.
Sure. Yes.
In the way I grew up, for example, I grew up in a way that I had lots of challenges in my life. Yeah. So if you ask me as a 7-year-old, what do you want to do with your life? I would never have imagined what would happen in my life. And I think that's true for everyone. Most of the people, who are really able to design their life by themselves, to create their life by themselves. And where the parents don't give a fixed idea of, okay, you go to this school, then to this school, then you do the engineer, and then you work in my company or in this company. Then you have this thing. So it's very different in people. But in a moment when you're allowed to create your life and to live your strengths, the question how far you come with your life means how much you can transform into a human being who can live the full potential, has a lot to do with the freedom of making your own decisions, even if they are wrong. But then, of course, you have lots of pressure if you have this allowance. So I'm a human being who learned a lot by mistakes, by errors, by bringing myself in the most stupid situations of life. Yeah?
Really?
Yeah, but they made me very strong. Yeah. Sure. And today I would like to tell parents that if your child at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16 is kind of, you think, oh my God, he or he will never turn out right. Oh my God, I'm so worried. Life changes, and the important part is that you have the right mentors, the right people, that you have the right direction always there. And in general, what is a good thing is that the ethics and the social values and the emotional strengths of a human being, that needs to be set in the first years. This should be our main focus, because if life will be easy or not, there are the people who want the easy way of life. They only learn and they develop very well under easy circumstances. And then you have human beings like me who need very challenging life situations, and then they learn. So we could say you have the one, we could say, and then we have the one who are following the ideas of the parents who say, if you do this, this might happen, and they understand and they do. Or you have the children who say, no, now I want to try it, because you say it's not working, I say it's working, so let me try it. So that has, I think, a lot to do with the personality. If a human being learns the easy way or the difficult way. But for sure, what happens is, the more pain in a life, the more we are willing to learn. So in that quote, I would say the same thing, because think about it. If you have sometimes little problems with your spine, and then you really have so much pain that you can't move, you're super willing to do your belly exercises next morning.
Yes,
super willing.
Absolutely.
But on one day, then there comes this one day when it's little, and your willingness goes down. Yeah.
Yes.
So it seems also to be natural to most human beings that if there's lots of pressure, if there's kind of a danger, this is the survival part that I spoke in the beginning. When we
Yes.
are afraid, something happens that we have more motivation to learn and grow and develop. What
Yes.
should not be misunderstood, it doesn't mean that we have to put our little ones already under huge pressure so
Yes.
that they learn. Naturally, the child is curious to learn. Yeah, but pain is one way to learn. Yeah, so for children, I would say better not to take it too literally, the quote.
Yes, yes. I think, that's an important disclaimer that you've added, because people would kind of translate that into the classroom scenario and wonder, oh, what can I do to create pressure on the children as far as classroom functioning is concerned? So, word of caution, that's not about creating environments, learning environments which have pressure, but it's only about natural experiences where we are likely to be able to respond with greater courage and resilience when we are faced with challenges. Great. So, Marion, I'd like to ask you something which is a little personal. You mentioned that you've faced a lot of challenges in your life, and you've emerged a different individual as a different persona. Would you like to share an experience from your life which had a strong impact on you, and you emerged strongly from it? And what inspired you to move out of that phase? If you can share something on those lines with us.
Yeah. Which one of the menu shall I pick? That's the question.
Yes, I can
Okay.
imagine. It's a difficult,
So,
it's a tough one.
okay, let's take one of my early years, maybe. I think
Yeah,
that's an interesting lesson that I took at that time. My first
sure.
mentor was an amazing woman. Yeah, really
Mhm.
a very amazing woman. I was at that time 24, and I had huge drive of being successful in my life here in Europe. I grew up in that time when it was like, gender equality and the same pay for the women and all of that. So I
Sure.
really wanted to prove in my young lives that a woman is worth the same like a man. So I ended up at the age of 24 to be a board member of an LLC with 1,400 employees. And
Wow.
yeah, so it was a really very great work. We had preschools, nursery, all kind of things. So
Mm.
then we had these board meetings, and I was the youngest, of course. And my mentor, she was my colleague at that time,
Sure.
and also really my mentor. So we were together in this board meeting, and the CEO of this company,
Mm-hmm.
he laid out a new project in about worth 1.5 million euro for
Mm-hmm.
retirement home. And so he wanted us to agree on this project. So I took out all of my knowledge from my mind. Yeah, number one, he's not allowed to put it in front of us that shortly. Number two, he needs to give us time to see the numbers. Number three, we have to study the risk management, all of that. And I throwed all of that at him in front of
Sure.
all of the other board members. We have 12 board members. They have been between 45 to 78. Yeah, and I was the youngest. And at the end, it was like this that I said, today, I will not decide on the project. You cannot have my voice for that because I don't have the right figures.
Sure.
So it was from the logical part, it was absolutely right what I did. Yeah,
Yes.
so we went out of the meeting, went
Mm-hmm.
downstairs. My
Mm-hmm.
mentor looked at me and she said, so, and now you go up in the second floor and you apologize to the CEO for what you did.
Oh
And
my.
I was like, what?
What?
Yeah. I said, what do you want me to do? Yeah. I did everything right, logically. And she said, yes, but you need a relationship with this person for a long time. And this is not how you treat a person who has an experience of 20 years. Yeah. He might not have done everything properly, but this is not the way how you treat a human being.
Mm.
And so that was one of my really big lessons. And I had to go
Sure.
up two floors, yeah, really to apologize to him. Yeah. And today we are still friends. Yeah. So we meet each other. We just have been at it was a non-racist demonstration, and we have been there. He was speaking there, and we shaked hand and everything. We're really good friends today. I understand what she meant. But at that time I
Yes.
was young and I just wanted to do things. And I really I felt like embarrassed for doing the right thing, but it wasn't exactly right. If we really think clearly about all of it, I apologize. It was not right to treat you like that. Yeah. So, and that took a lot from me, but it was a very good lesson. And it made me very sensitive towards other coming events and how to handle them, and maybe just to pronounce things differently, say them differently, state them differently, respect the person differently. Yeah. So a very big lesson at that moment, kind of really challenging, also being the youngest one, not being taken serious and trying to make a point and doing the right thing and working through all of that. So yeah, I had to work 60, 70 hours where others were working 20, 30 hours. So it's kind of, it really made me very strong when it comes to the aspect of business, for example. If I would not have gone through that training, I would not have been able to do the next steps which were coming in my life. I did not learn this in any business school. That was a life lesson.
Yes. I guess, that's a very important lesson that we learn when we work with people, that people have different perspectives, they have different ways of functioning, they have different outlooks towards life. And there's no right or wrong way of doing things. It's just a difference of perspectives. And even if you disagree, we do it in a way in which the opposite person feels enrolled. We are sensitive towards them in our articulation, and we are respectful of whatever we are conveying. And I think, you having, being able to move on, even after having that experience and being able to create so much in your life is commendable in itself, because with an experience like that, someone might just think that this is not meant for me and I'm too young and I don't have a voice, but you continued on and you created such a huge, area of contribution for yourself, which is amazing.
But that is exactly the point I think also the quote is pointing to, because of that and the right mentor on my side. And this is what also, when we now bring it into the KG, the nursery, the primary schools, the early year education, it's exactly that. It's not that the child that is perfect. We are not perfect, none of us. We make mistakes. But the question is, what kind of guidance do we have through this process?
Yes.
Yeah. What kind of people do we have on our side, and what kind of informations do we get? Yeah. Because after that day, I felt like I never will go back there. I was so ashamed. Yeah. And I don't want to see any one of them. So if you don't have the right person on your side, leading you through this and say, come and we go and we do this together and you will grow, and every day you learn more and you will come out stronger. So these situations with the right person on my side, I always had mentors till 2018 when my last mentor died. I had my entire life my mentors on my side from young business life, and I wouldn't be there if there wouldn't have been these people who said, come, let's go the next step. And that is because in my childhood, I didn't have this encouragement. So I needed it when I was grown up. But now imagine you have a child who is encouraged from day one.
By the parent, by the educator. Yes.
Yeah. So this encouragement is really trusting the child, believing in the child, helping them to grow, overcoming the obstacles. That builds resilience, and the courage, encouraging the child to do that. That is the role of educators and parents, because then only we can live what's inside here. We all have so much resources, but 90% of the people don't show it, because one time it happens and then already we say, no, never do this again. This is nothing for me. I'm not born for this. I'm not strong enough for this. I'm not beautiful enough for this, and all of that. If I'm allowed to tell this story, I don't know where it exactly happened, but it was in America, and I just remember the story a little bit. It was a young lady, and she was discovered by her mentor as a model, and she said, you are so beautiful, you can be the number one. And she tried it for 3-4 years and it didn't work, and she wanted to stop, and this lady encouraged her. And the year after she died, she became the top model of the world. So she also had this person on the side, it's this person on the side that makes us live our potential. And in the young years, this is our parents, these are the educators, those are the people we trust and we believe that they want the best for us.
Yes, yes, yes. Having someone around who believes in us and sometimes believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. That's something that happens with every child. They wonder, whether they are capable, they're smart, they're intelligent, they're beautiful. Imagine having every parent and every educator as a mentor and a guide for their children. That would be so amazing. Wow, thank you for outlining that role for parents and educators. That's a very different outlook and a way of looking at the role of educators and parents. Amazing. All right. So now we come back to, the idea of courage, resilience, creativity in the face of challenges. I think until now we've been speaking a lot about, what these aspects mean and the role of adults and grown-ups in the life of children as far as development of these aspects is concerned. Now I want to get onto the aspect of how we can consciously plan learning experiences or learning environments to be able to develop these aspects in children. So when it comes to courage and resilience, are there certain strategies or activities or stories that we can expose children to in order to develop these aspects in children? If you can share about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in the very young years, the most important part is that we create an environment where it naturally is coming to the child to think, to just grow their courage and their resilience. So it's not that we would kind of create a situation, but let's say just you have 2.5 and 3-year-old children together, 5 of them, 10 of them. The way how to deal with other children, they're not really used to it. For example, if you have one toy and everyone wants the toy. So there are kind of situations that naturally come in the moment when you have a group of children. Okay, like you can encourage a child just to go to the other child and ask, may I have it? May I play with you? So that already, these are the first steps of encouraging. The second is, while we should always see that there's a safe environment for children, we should not make it super safe. So if we create an environment, and I know there's a little bit of conflict between the nurseries and the parents, because the parents, they don't want to see any blue spot on the body of the children, but this blue spot is super important. It's super important. Okay, so not in case of consciously doing it, but the environment shouldn't be too safe. Like, there is the story of a researcher who did a lot of risk management research. So they had children jump from 0.5 meter down on the floor. And there were children who never have been allowed to do that, and they didn't know how to do it. And it was so risky for them to do this because they really could hurt themselves just because they weren't allowed to fall in their young years. They weren't allowed to be in an environment where they might even, I don't know, just hit something against the chair or a table, because there was always someone protecting them. So they had no awareness about space. They had no awareness about what is dangerous or not. So it also takes really the ability of the child to develop good intuition about what is dangerous and what not. So already from that viewpoint, we should allow children to make these learning steps little by little by little. A child who is used to crawl and fall and to run against the table and maybe, I don't know, get stuck somewhere under the table if it's not high enough. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a very important point, to create an environment where conflict can happen. Conflict with objects, conflicts with human beings. Yeah, because that needs courage to overcome this situation or to try to figure out how to handle this situation. The second part, when we come to the aspect of resilience, is also about problem solving. We shouldn't solve problems for children, but we should give them questions to think about. The more questions we give them, the better they can go in different directions to think about how to solve the problem. So it will broaden their understanding a lot. So in that regard, if we solve the problem, no resilience is built. If they overcome it by themselves, resilience will be built. And the courage will grow to make errors and to overcome them. So in that regard, that is also a very, very important part.
Yes, wondering that, when you're saying that we give children opportunities or natural scenarios where, where they're engaged into play or different kinds of activities where, they find ways in, wherever there's conflict, they find ways to resolve it or solve problems. Is there a possibility that you can share some instances or examples or case studies wherein a scenario arose where guiding through questions the children solve problems on their own or they resolved a conflict in each other for any age group for that matter?
Okay, let's speak about the present time and present moment. Here in Europe, we are going towards Christmas. In the German-speaking area, we have a tradition. We have the tradition of an Advent Kranz, it's called. So it's like a circle made out of branches, of normally needle branches. And it's kind of, you create it, you bound it together, and then you put 4 candles on it. So every week you light in a candle. So let's say now, what you can do as an educator, this is how we would do it in TLI pedagogics in a real experience now. You go to the children, you can start with a story. You can read a story about a child who had this circle at home, and every week she was lighting a candle during the day when Christmas came. Christmas is approximately that important here in Europe like Holi in India. Yeah, or Diwali, I think Diwali. Yeah, so Diwali is more. So you can compare the two. Yeah? So each child is waiting for Diwali, each child is waiting for Christmas here.
Yeah, and for that matter, any child from any culture is waiting for the festival of their culture, any part of the world. Yeah.
Right. So you have 4 weeks, and so to make it easier for them, you light in the candle. So what can you do? You can say, this girl had this circle with the 4 candles to see how the weeks pass and to know when the day is here. You also want one, so that could be the beginning of an entire project. So if the children find it interesting, then you can say, okay, but how do you want to make it? How do you want to create it? How should yours look? That's it. And so from there, the children can start to get their ideas, and with the guide and the mentor on their side who can say, okay, that is something we can look at, then it could be that they say, okay, we need branches. Okay, where do you get the branches from? Then they might say, we have to go in the forest. So where is the forest? Oh, there is no forest. Okay, then maybe we have to get it from the gardener. Okay, where is the gardener? It's kind of, you can really help them by just interacting with them in such a way that they have to think one of the other, and do they get there? Do they not get there? How will they solve this? Do they need an adult to help them? Can they solve it by themselves? So this is the way how we work a lot with them. We want them to create events and also results by their own with a little guidance of the grown-up. So the guidance is depending on the age, stronger, less strong. Yeah. So, but that is one way of how you can do it. In a very simple way, it happens also in family when there are 2 siblings, for example. Yeah, if 2 siblings are wanting one toy, you have a conflict. So the question how you solve this conflict can be that you might encourage the one who is the more quiet one to not allow the other one to take the toy away, for example. Yeah, to be strong. This is my toy. I have it now. I don't want to share it, for example. Yeah, you can, for example, also help the other one who is the one who likes to take things away by just making them understand and create more empathy towards their brother or sister that they might not want to share at the present moment. Yeah. So that is also something where you always, only when you know the children, you can really guide them well, because you need to know their character, persona, you need to know their developmental state in that regard, that is all basic knowledge that you need before you are able to give the right answer, the right question for them to find an answer or to go to the next step.
Sure.
What is not very useful is if you just watch, there are so many videos nowadays out on what you can do and how you can do and all of that. But you need always to look if your child or the children in your group as an educator are, from the viewpoint of development sensitivity, really able to understand and to handle it like that. Yeah, so those are all just guidelines, because each and every child needs a little different approach.
Sure. So I think, one important aspect, which you are speaking about, which I think I would encourage our audiences, especially parents and educators, to get into exploring is developmentally how children are different at different ages. And of course, keeping in mind that every child is unique at every age. And so when you say that once a person is aware in terms of developmentally how children are different, how say an adolescent would be different, how a child at the early years would be different, how do they develop differently, once a person has that kind of awareness, you also spoke about asking children the right questions, or raising questions in a way which allow them to think for themselves. You also spoke about the idea of introducing projects, which I again found very interesting, because any kind of project you undertake, whether it's decorating your own house, or maybe looking at how you can make it safe in today's times, or how you can lead a more healthier life, planning on that, or how you make friends with people around you, any sort of project that a parent or an educator can introduce in the school would be a great way in which children would learn to be creative, or they would learn to be thinking for themselves, or be courageous and handle situations where there's likely to be conflict or interaction with other individuals. So coming back to the previous aspect which I was referring to, that asking questions that allow children to think, how does a parent or an educator be aware that we are raising questions that are making our children think for themselves rather than us leading them on in a certain direction?
Yeah, I think the first and the best is to see the answer of the child. If the answer of the child is exactly what you want to hear, then I guess it's not really thinking outside of the already established mindset. Yeah. While this is very comfortable for parents and educators if the children answer with what they want to hear. Yeah. It means that this is not, it's also nice, but it's not helping them to learn problem solving, and it's not developing their creativity. So coming back to a handcraft. So is there any special handcraft every child is doing during their times in kindergarten, making the Indian flag or something? For example,
yes, every child would do that. Yes, of course.
Okay. So when I go in a room and I see 30 children having exactly the same flag, then there was no creativity involved.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That's what happens when people are designing a home. Like, most children, they have a certain way of drawing their homes, and that's taught by the educator. They've not used their own creativity for it.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So while this is important, an important step also to be able to draw something, how it really looks. Like if I have a flower and I ask the child, please draw the flower, that is an exercise a child can do, and it leads into helping the child to learn letters and numbers, because you have to copy them. Yeah, so it's an important thing, but not for creativity. Yeah, so that's the question. Yeah, so the question is, what do I want? All is needed, but if you ask me, how can I increase the creativity of a child, then it cannot be what I plan. So when I have an idea of, okay, I want them to do it like this, and I ask my question so that at the end they say, why don't we do it like this? Then I didn't increase their creativity. I just got them to that end result that I wanted.
Sure. Yes. Yes.
And also the second part, important part, is also to not immediately say, oh, that will not work, even if you know. Yeah, because we are now, at least in the discussion of creativity, resilience, courage, without
Yes.
also trying something that doesn't work. That is a very important part of life, to also see that there are things which are not working like I want them to work. And that is very important also for diversity, because we have a very special time at the present moment. And this is the balance that parents and educators need to take is, on one hand, we are very much focusing on individuality and that each child is unique. But on the other side, we also help children to understand that it's nothing special. It's not special to be unique. Everyone is unique. You know? So we see that at the present moment, we have a lot of princes and princesses, yeah, who believe that nothing can happen to them because they are anyhow the best, the biggest, the greatest. And normally the awakening comes as soon as the measure that they are measured in a competitive environment. Yeah, so then they fall out of all of that. Oh my God. Yeah, and then we still also know that sometimes the parents say, my child is better, you didn't give the right grade to my child, or you didn't do the proper assessment. So that is important. So uniqueness is something everyone has. It's nothing special, but it's important to be unique. And when we can also get this kind of solidarity thought, social competence together with this creativity, then you will also see that the children themselves will be able to say, okay, this is what I can do, this is what I cannot do, this is what I would like to try, even if it goes wrong, this is what I don't want to try, I want you to help me. Yeah, so this is how we actually create human beings who are able to live a balanced life.
Sure. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. So if you were to make me and the audiences who are going to watch this experience something like maybe an exercise or an activity which can or an inspirational thought or a story which is about courage and resilience and creativity, can you
Mhm.
let us experience something like that or share something on those lines with us so that
Mhm.
our parents and our educators can get a first-hand experience of engendering this kind of an experience in children? It could be a project we were referring to earlier, or recommendations of ideas
Mhm.
in relation to this. What would that be?
Yeah, I'm not prepared for the meeting, but I don't know the name of the author. I'm just checking it. There is really an amazing series of books. And
Sure.
I think on my YouTube channel for parents or educators, one of the two YouTube channels on Tier Life Pedagogics, I have most of the books there. And I also tell some things that you can do. One book
Mhm.
is called The Lion Inside. And it speaks about, it's a book, a really great book. It speaks about a mouse who sees the lion and all of the animals looking up to the lion on this huge rock, and the lion roars and everyone finds it impressive, and no one sees the little mouse and is stepping on the mouse and ignoring the mouse. So the little mouse wants to be the lion. So in the night when she laid down, she had this idea, I need to learn to roar, because when I can roar like the lion, then people will take me serious. So the mouse is thinking, how can I learn how to roar like a lion? And the end result is that the mouse discovers the only one who can train me on that is the lion. But the mouse is super
Okay.
afraid of the lion. And then the mouse takes
Sure.
all the courage together and goes up the rock and stands in front of the nose. It's really the pig there, the little mouse. You see the big lion head.
Yeah.
Stands there, super afraid, but takes all courage and says, "Dear lion, can you please help me to learn how to roar?" And the
Mm.
lion opens the eyes and looks at the mouse and becomes super scared of the mouse. Super scared.
Super scared of the
And
mouse.
then the Yes,
Yeah.
the mouse and the lion Yeah. So, and then the mouse discovers that she's powerful. She doesn't need to roar. She's powerful by herself. Yeah. So, and this author who wrote that book wrote many books about courage and self-awareness and overcoming fears and all of that. So this series, I think, should be in every household. So
Wow.
this is the one, if you search it on Amazon, you usually find it. And as said, I'm also giving some ideas in these videos for parents and for educators, how they could implement it and what it is about and why it's so important for children. So I'll try to do that and give this knowledge also cost-free, because I know that is a huge topic, especially in this time, also to work
Yes.
with children about that aspect.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Wow, great. Thank you so much, Marion. Some of the ideas that you have suggested
You're
are
welcome.
really making me think, or very differently about the kind of learning experiences that we can provide our children with, as far as developing courage and resilience are concerned. The idea of um, being being in situations where you're likely to experience conflict, or being in situations where you
Mm-hmm.
fall, and you need to learn from those experiences, or being in situations where you're likely to experience challenges, where you will learn from them and grow and probably find ways to move forward. I think most people have this notion that it's um, it's only possible for an individual to grow when everything around is perfect and hunky and dory, or it's safe for us. But sometimes we also learn through challenges and calamities and difficulties. And I think that's a huge lesson for us, especially in today's times when, the entire humanity is faced with a huge challenge. And, being able to respond to this situation with courage and probably even creativity, to be able to find ways in which we can safeguard ourselves, our loved ones, is something that is a very different outlook that you presented during this interaction. I'd really like to thank you for this. Is there anything else that you'd like to add or talk about as far as this theme is concerned, like a takeaway message? What would that be?
So as this message is mainly for Indian educators and parents, I would say number one for the parents, relax, chill out. So my experience with the
Okay.
moms and dads is that they are so wanting to make sure that their children will have the best future. And that is, I think, what is the important part also. They will have, even if something doesn't go perfect in their life and it's not always the perfect day, that will be a very important lesson. So I hope that is what parents can take out. And for educators, I think we need to start to really not work according to a schedule, but to work according to the children which are at the present moment in front of our eyes, in our guidance, with
Sure.
their needs, their specialities, their talents. And that is a very different training educators need. This is why if educators are still very much focused on having a schedule from this time to this time to this time, maybe you want to take a look in the national curriculums where this is different and get educated on that, because that is where you can help the children the best. Yeah, but for
Sure.
this we need to let go this old idea of scheduling, so that would be maybe
Yes.
the takeaways that I would say are the very important for me. Yeah.
Sure. Bringing in innovation, bringing in diversity, bringing in novelty in the schedule. I think that that sense of unpredictability also prepares you for something that is the unknown, which we referred to earlier in our interaction. You know. All right. Great. Thank you so
Right.
much, Marion. It's been a pleasure to have this interaction with you. Thank you.